Once upon a time, there was a world filled with magic users. However, one boy amongst them was utterly useless at magic, even though he dreamed of becoming the Wizard King one day. But it's okay, cause it turns out there's a demon inside him that'll make him super strong with magic. And the name of that boy was Naruto. Yes, our friend Naruto sure got caught up in a lot on his way to becoming Hokage and achieving his grand dream of attaining world peace, possibly the most insane protagonist goal that there ever has been. I mean, beating the evil guy is all fair game, but what if your goat's goal was to attain peace between Pakistan and India? Kinda crazy. But despite all the odds, he really did it. I say despite the odds, but when you take a closer look at Naruto, the odds actually seem to be stacked in his favor. Truly, Naruto as a story is about watching the odds stack up for him arc by arc. On the other end of the anime spectrum, but not actually that far off, we have a story of a boy who's all brain and no brawn, tasked with the restoration of humanity. The total restoration. So iPhones, instant ramen, space travel, and manga are all coming back from the Stone Age. Much like Naruto, Senku can't get far without a cast of friends to help him. But ideologically speaking, that's as close as they get to having a thematic similarity. It's time to dive into the story of cynical idealism versus idealistic cynicism. From the start, Naruto is set up to be at a disadvantage compared to his fellow students at Ninja School. He's an orphan boy, shunned by the village for reasons yet unknown, and to top it all off, he's crap at even basic ninjutsu. Very quickly, however, it's revealed that Naruto is not as helpless as we first thought, as he mysteriously has a huge reserve of chakra. The series will continue this trend on many fronts, with Naruto either lucking out with nepotism in regards to the people who will come to train him, or as he gets better at harnessing the power that he was given from birth. You see, Naruto is a world of nepotism, and it doesn't shy away from that either. What matters most in Naruto is who your parents are. In fact, almost every ability in Naruto is inherited one way or another, and it's not like this is exclusive to dojutsu. Shikamaru's shadow puppet jutsu is taken from his family, Sasuke is born of Sharingan because he's an Uchiha, and on the other side of the same coin, Kabuto pretty much stole everything he's got, and Jinchuriki are just given great power by taking from someone or something else. Naruto constantly reminds us that genetics are more important than anything, and also what your family name is. Hard work? Sure, it can get you pretty far, but even the poster boy for hard work paying off got beat by someone who historically never worked a day in their life. But why does this all matter anyways? Well, in both Naruto and Dr. Stone, the protagonist's goals have to do with changing the entire world state, and the story of Naruto, whether Kishimoto intended it or not, is very cynical about it. Naruto isn't a man of the people. He's for the people, sure, but he's not a commoner. He's the son of the Hokage, and even his mother came from a prestigious class. Then there's his stewards. The third Hokage watched over him. He was trained by one of the legendary Sannin, and Kakashi was the ninja equivalent of the British Special Forces. The boy who wishes to attain world peace has all the odds stacked in his favor, and this is more or less what I mean about Naruto being a cynical story. We'll directly compare Senku and Naruto's circumstances later in this regard. It's not a story about how anyone can change the world for the better. It's a story that tells us if we want meaningful change in the world, only the people born with the power and connections can do it. To unfortunately hammer this home even further, the story has multiple Naruto analogues who all wish for the same thing, but ultimately fail or even die without getting close. The most notable of these characters is Pain, or rather Nagato, a former student of Jiraiya. Naruto to me feels like a story of frustration, about how we wish a single person could come along and fix everything wrong with the world, how one boy can stop all the wars around him and bring about an era of peace. And the cynical part is that it can't believably be just any boy. Naruto needed to have everything possible going for him to bring about this goal. from who his parents were to who taught him, and even where he comes from specifically. If you look at the abilities that made the Kages famous, the Hidden Leaf Village is kinda stacked. The strongest ninja that ever lived, to a guy who found out how to resurrect the dead, to a guy who mastered every single element type. Reminder, this existed before The Last Airbender came out. And finally, the fastest ninja who ever lived via space-time ninjutsu. Alright, so we got the cynical idealism out of the way. Now what's this idealistic cynicism thing I'm going on about? Well, let's begin. Dr. Stone is a story about all of humanity on the planet Earth gets turned to stone one day, and how it's up to our hero Senku to wake everyone up and bring civilization back to its peak after being asleep for 3,700 years. Dr. Stone, at its core, is a story of how amazing the world we currently live in truly is, and how it should be perfect, all things considered. Keyword, should. Dr. Stone doesn't shy away from the realities of our world, placing them front and center almost immediately with Tsukasa's backstory. In our world, everything's owned by old people, who either got somewhere first, or inherited everything from someone who got there first and take advantage of the younger generations to profit. But we'll get back to that later. Trust me. Dr. Stone gets its title drop moment a few chapters in, with the invention of soap and its importance in a world about doctors. Or rather, reinvention. In the stone world, one bad cut and you're dead. There's no antibiotics around after all. The mere invention and importance of soap just goes to show you how easy our lives are compared to what they could be without millennia of scientific progress. This makes Senku somewhat ironclad in his goal to bring back civilization. He's aware of all the flaws that modern society had, but he looks past all that, not only due to the benefits of our scientific civilization, but also because he doesn't see himself as some grand world-changing character that can pass judgment upon others. If Naruto is about changing the world we live in, Dr. Stone is about seeing the good side of our world, or rather, what our world could and should be, without the need for a Superman like Naruto to swoop in and fix things with a snap of his finger. Hey, remember earlier when I talked about our younger generation's exploitation? You know, capitalism and all that stuff. Well, nothing exemplifies the idealistic cynicism of Dr. Stone more so than the character of Ryusui. Ryusui is a capitalist, through and through. There's no denying that at all, and his wealth was inherited too. But what he brings to the table is his ideology. Desire is noble. Or,
because greed equals justice.
Essentially, our desires lead to progress. One day man desired to go to space, so we pulled our desire together, unified, and made it up to the deep black sea. Ryusui is almost unrecognizable compared to the faces that come to mind when you think of rich people today. Ryusui doesn't even pretend to be an ideas man. He happily spends his money furthering the ideas of others. In fact, it's crazy that he spends money at all. Rich people today buy yachts, and that's really it. They dress like crap and eat worse. But Ryusui loves to spend. If there's an economy, he's actively stimulating it instead of leeching from it. Ryusui sees money as a tool to bring people's desires together. He truly is noble, and it makes you think how much better our world could be if we had people like him around, spending money on science or the arts, instead of terrible cars and trying to reinvent trains. I suppose it all comes down to his noble desires. Ryusui wants for the things of the world, not the means to achieve these things. He's true to his word. Money is merely a tool. So you're starting to see it, right? The cynical idealism on show, telling us how good our world currently is, while also telling us how much better it easily could be. Admittedly, I haven't dived too far into the aspect of how it tells us how cool our world is, but you don't need me to sit here and tell you how cool modern music, ramen, and HRT is, alright? Anyways, the manga goes out of its way to even have some of the villains prove their own ideologies wrong. Tsukasa is small potatoes as far as villains' goals go. He just doesn't want to bring back any old people who tried and bring back concepts like rent and credit scores. Most agreeable, I think. But Hyuga is the real piece of work of the series. A brutal fighter who believes in eugenics. And he's a real tough bastard about it.
Leave the countless fools of the petrified to their slumber and only pass on superior genes. Through evolution, we will give rise to the apex of our kind.
If you think he's only after cute girls to have pretty offspring, guess again.
We already put your beliefs into practice on this island. The prettiest women are selected from the herd. If you're as strong as I take you for, you too could have a harem of your own.
So if I'm reading you correctly, the lone factor that determines a person's worth to you is how physically attractive they are?
Of course.
Ah, I see.
He's all about strength through and through, which is why his clash with Maz is incredible storytelling. Maz, too, is a eugenicist, believing all the pretty women should be with him, as he is the strongest person around. And indeed, he's strong enough to wipe the floor with Hyuga. That is, until Hyuga gets a hold of his weapon of choice, allowing him to employ his martial arts. And all of a sudden, natural-born strength is nothing in the face of a technique developed over hundreds of generations.
It's the accumulation of knowledge and skills, diligently obtained for millennia. We perfect what we've learned until we die. And even then, our hard work lives on through our descendants.
Hyuga is forced to realize that genes aren't everything, as he uses his skills that have to be taught instead of inherited strength to defeat Maz. By simply being himself, he disproves his own eugenicist beliefs. The last thing that separates these two pieces of fiction is probably the most important. Naruto is an orphan, and it appears that he doesn't have any parental figures at all growing up. Presumably, he's had to feed himself, do his own chores, and figure out life for himself. All while wondering where he really came from. It turns out, he came from super important places. His father was the Hokage, and he's the reincarnation of one of the most important ninja figures in history. He's genetically blessed on top of having the greatest of ninja looking out for him once he starts training to be a ninja. Jiraiya and Kakashi and even some enemies give him their blessings. On top of that, he even had Haruka-sensei looking out for him when he was younger, so he really wasn't that alone. Senku has a very different upbringing. An adopted child himself, it's never brought up who his real father is. He's never cared either. To him, Byakuya has always been his father. It's never important where Senku came from, only where he goes. Think about it. I wonder if Jiraiya would have ever taught Naruto if Naruto wasn't the son of who he was. On that same topic, it sure is coincidental that Kakashi would become his teacher, the person who was taught by Naruto's father. And then, with one of Naruto's greatest antagonists, Pain, they then share a connection between who taught the both of them. At almost every turn in Naruto, it becomes increasingly important where exactly he came from. Whereas in Senku's case, where he came from doesn't matter in the slightest. As a child, we see him confused as to why the moon follows him. So we understand immediately that he wasn't born a genius at all. He got smart through hours and hours of studying and experimenting and playing around with science. He wasn't possessed by a demon that made him really good at chemistry. And he's not Albert Einstein's secret love child, so, you know. Anyone can be Senku, but only Naruto can be Naruto. Anyone with that inherent curiosity can become a scientist. We even see this in Chrome, a boy with the curiosity needed to find out everything there is to find about the world he lives in, over 3,000 years after the word scientist probably disappeared from the vocabulary of the world. And as time goes on, even a country bumpkin like Chrome, who believed in sorcery instead of science, as again, the word science didn't exist, gets smarter and obtains new knowledge and starts having ideas of his own through the experiences learned on his journey with Senku.
And I've got a trial idea. Let's put a fidget spinner at the drone's core. The giant-ho whatchamacallit thing will keep it steady.
Chrome, you're dead on!
So good, in fact, that I took the liberty of installing such a spinner in our Mark II.
As if Senku's allegory on his own wasn't enough, Chrome once again goes to show you that anyone can be a scientist. Dr. Stone and Naruto aren't similar at all on the surface. One's a battle shonen after all, and the other is basically a game of Tekkit Minecraft. It's the author's perspectives that are unique enough to end up being comparable with each other. One fed-up cynic dreams of a world where a boy is born with all the cards in his hand, enough so that he can change said world. And another author looks at the world we already have and thinks how amazing it all is, all the thousands of years of scientific endeavors that brought us to this point, and they ponder how it's almost perfect, how it has the potential to be perfect, and how anyone can grow up to further try and perfect the world, not just the chosen one. The cynic versus the idealist, but each has some aspect of the other inside them. As always, hope you enjoyed. A big thank you to my patrons, and a special thanks to Nasir or Tia in Elder Tier. If you liked the video, you can subscribe for more, and drop a like, and while you're at it, feel free to check out one of my other videos. And comment if you want to argue about shonen with me. Until next time, see ya!